Hello viewers, and welcome to this very special episode of Ready to Mediate. And tonight we are joined by the divorce go-to girl, Renee Catt. Hi, Renee.
Hi.
So, Renee, I know that you've been out and about today. What have you been up to?
I have been spent the whole day doing a meditation retreat day. Yeah, it was amazing. So I've been totally zenned out all day.
Fantastic. And when did you start meditating? Not today, but, in your life.
No, I actually started meditating the week, I think, after my marriage ended. I'd always had this thing about meditation. Oh, what a load of, garbage, basically. Like, how's that going to do you any good?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, something inside me after we split up, I was just like, I think I need to give this a go. And I've been meditating pretty much every day for the last 3.5 years. And it changes your life. So it's,
wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that meditation forms part of your program with your mostly women that you work with. Would you like to tell us a little bit about Divorce Go-To Girl, what it's about and what inspired you to create it?
Sure. So I guess I am the Divorce Go-To Girl, and the whole, oh God, what a journey it's been. She started, I talk about her as she, like she's my, alter ego, which I guess in a way she is to a point. How she came about was I was doing my normal job of being a travel agent specializing in divorce holidays to Las Vegas, and I had a business coach, and she just said to me, Renee, every time you talk about helping women through their divorce, she said, your voice just changes, you light up, and you have to do this. And I was like, yes, someone had, I'd felt it in me. I knew I wanted to do this, but changing your careers when you're 41 or whatever is kind of a bit daunting, but I love getting out of that comfort zone. So that's how she started. And it just started off blogging, and then I've just developed my skill set over the last 3.5 years of really getting, up-leveling myself and doing courses and coaching and that sort of thing. So I really can offer people some, I guess, hope, at the start when basically the shit hits the fan and you've got no idea what to do, who to turn to, who do you trust, who do you tell? It's such a minefield of the unknown. And I guess when I was at what I call my rock bottom, and I was looking for answers, I was looking for information, and I couldn't find anything I needed that was of any use and relevant in the one spot. So I created this holy leap, I'm getting a divorce checklist. So when you go over to the website, you can join my movement as such, and you'll get delivered this checklist. So it just teaches you, this is who you call, this is who you talk to in the order that you need to do it, kind of thing. So it's my absolute passion to help people, see divorce as an opportunity and not have a never-ending pity party. And I mean, hardly no one ever, you're not prepared for this, because no one ever gets married thinking, oh yeah, I'll be divorced in a few years, I can prepare for it. Like, it doesn't happen like that. I took my vows seriously. I believed in the whole till death do us part. Like, that was I never even, you just don't. So anyway, so yeah, that's how she started. And then I created these online boot camps, which is because I understand that for some people at the start, they might just feeling a bit uncomfortable talking to people about it. And the boot camp really gives them all the information that they need to understand what's going on in that first, sensitive time. So I've really just, that's the online style. And then, I do retreats, and we'll do some live boot camps and all sorts of stuff. So she's really there to put a different spin on what divorce traditionally means. And
Yeah.
I like to take this because you feel like you've failed, you feel like there's, shame, and it's just not so. That's what people, when they want to fear you into something, that's what they'll tell you. But you know what? You're either going to grow together or grow apart, and it's that simple.
It's so interesting that we accept in other parts of our life, we accept that things are no longer working, it's time to move on. So whether it's the job you're in or the house you're in or a relationship with a friend or a family member, in society we seem to accept that those things change and our needs change and that we adapt to them. But when it comes to marriage, I think even more so than de facto relationships. I mean, I'd be interested to hear if you work also with people breaking up from a long-term not marriage. But it's really interesting to me that we sort of things that are acceptable. Oh, well, this house doesn't suit me anymore. I've changed. It hasn't. I'm going to move to a different house. We don't get that feeling of shame. We don't get those emotional attachments. If you say, oh, I've outgrown my job or the company's changed direction, it's not for me anymore. You don't get those feelings of shame and as if somehow it's your fault or you've done something wrong. You've broken some promise to the world.
Yeah, it's an odd thing, and I think the hardest part of it all is actually admitting it to yourself when your marriage is over. And you're so right with that. It's like everything else is, you can change, you can fix, but a lot of people, I think they try to fix it all, but on a surface level.
Interesting.
And, my ex and I probably, well, we couldn't have fixed us because we're just far too different, and that's a whole different story. But I think if you are aware and consciously in your marriage and notice when it starts to go downhill, that's when you need to go, right, there's something not right here. Like, I can tell you the moment our marriage changed was when we stopped saying I love you every day. And I know exactly where I was. I know exactly where it all was the morning we stopped. And that changed everything.
Wow.
And so you've got to really know, okay, this is it. So there's ways to stop your divorce. And I've helped some friends of mine. My girlfriend's written me like an A4 piece of paper testimonial for saving her and her husband's marriage. So you can definitely do it, but you've got to be so honest with each other. And then otherwise you'll end up exactly how I did, fear, not knowing what to do, or so
and I think too, like you said earlier, you need to be honest with yourself as well as with your partner, which often is very difficult.
It's really hard. I think couples, my advice would be as well for people who have gone to see a therapist or whoever or a counselor, don't go together on your first one, because often there's pressure everyone thinks that they need to save their marriage. And some of them just aren't meant to last. We can either outgrow each other, and if you are too different and no one wants to give, that is okay. No one should really change for that. You've got to want to grow. Yeah. So I would definitely say that you go separately so you can give that person honest feedback without your partner there saying what you think you should say. Because we're too in our head of, I'm married, I've got to save this, but you need to just be so trusting and trust your heart. Our hearts know what we should do. This is all my meditation. I'm getting the meditation I've had.
That's so interesting. I was saying to you off air before we started tonight that my mum actually is a clinical psychologist, and I've been helping her today. When she does couples counselling, whenever she has couples come in, she says to them, you must commit to a minimum of 4 sessions. The first one you'll come together, then I'll see each of you separately, and then I'll see you together again. Yeah.
I don't know, something in me just happened the other day and I went, no, I think that if you go in together, I don't think you're going to be that honest. We think we are, but I think, again, we think too much. Yeah, I don't know. I think going separately and just being completely and utterly honest with yourself first, of what you really want. And I think it's okay too if you say, right now, I don't love him or her, but I want to learn how to. I want to try and save it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sorry. I was just going to say, similar things often come up in mediation, whether it's a family law matter or some other matter. Typically, we'll start in a joint session. That's, the model that we use. And yeah, exactly what you just said. Everybody presents what they think they should say and how they should present it. And then it's not often until we get into the private sessions, the one-on-one sessions, and I say, look, it's confidential between you and me. Whatever you say in this room stays here unless you want to tell the other person. And as you say, that's when things start to come out. And often through asking sometimes straightforward questions, sometimes difficult, challenging questions, they start to sort of understand things or admit things to themselves when they hadn't really confronted before. So that's part of what drew me to mediation, is just that transformative effect that it has on you on an individual level, as well as whatever the relationship is that is in trouble.
It's like what you do is such a kind of more gentle way to divorce, if there is such a thing, right? Because it's freaking hard. And if you're not prepared as well, like I think for people when they come and see you as well, got no idea unless you've been divorced like 5 times before, then you know what's coming. But if you haven't been divorced before, you've got no idea the questions that you're going to ask, how you need to think. And especially as women, we get so emotionally involved in everything, whereas the guys are all about ego. And I don't mean egotistical, I mean their ego. We've all got ego, it's there to protect us, but guys are all about being right. And we're all the emotional. And I think people, again, my advice when they come and see you, it's much nicer to see you before you see a lawyer, but also you need to approach your divorce like it's a business and make business decisions, not emotionally fueled decisions when you've been crying, when you're tired, and not for the guys either when they are all, testosterone full and, I'm going to get her and blah, blah, blah. It's business. It's just stick to the facts. Look at it like a business. If you've got kids, what is best for the kids here? That is enough.
Yeah.
And you are a gem for these people because, I wish I'd had the opportunity to use someone like you rather than flung straight in the deep end to a lawyer.
Yeah, when we were chatting yesterday, I think it was, you were telling me that I think you saw a lawyer and your now ex saw a lawyer, and the option of mediation was floated, and the other side, that's such a lawyer phrase, and your ex and his lawyer didn't want to try that method, and you went straight through the court system. Is that right?
It was a little bit. So my ex went to see a lawyer, then I did, and he mentioned you've got 4 ways to do this. Do it yourself, do it with a mediator, conciliation in court. And my ex and his mummager, I should say, they decided that, no, we're not going to talk to you about it. Lawyer. So wow. I kind of didn't really have a choice, and it's a learning curve. Everything's a lesson and an experience, right? But I absolutely could have gone down the mediation thing because we didn't have a lot to fight over anyway. It was quite ridiculous. So, but that them's the breaks. It's I feel that the more people that know about your services, people might be kinder to each other during, this emotionally charged and fueled process.
Yeah, and the number of times that I've heard people say, I'd rather the money be spent on lawyers than the ex, than the ex get it.
Oh my God. It's ridiculous. I just sometimes can't fathom how two people who used to love each other, desperately were married, then come from a place of hate and anger and bitterness to get back at someone. It's just people, it serves no purpose. The only person you hurt is yourself. You waste time. You can never get time back, right? Sure, we can earn more money, like whatever. Money, we can earn more.
Money comes and goes.
It's just ridiculous that people behave that way. It's so childish. Like, grow up. Everyone.
Hey, so before we talk about your experience with arbitration, I might just run through a little bit of stuff about the law as it is at the moment in the family law jurisdiction for our viewers, in case they're in that very early phase where they haven't got their information from their lawyer yet, or perhaps they're supporting someone who's going through a breakup. So, I'm just going to gather my thoughts for a moment, because I must admit family law is one of the areas where the rules tend to change fairly often. Every time you turn around, something's a bit different. But at the moment, if you are going to ask the court for an order to do with your children, so where they're going to live, who they're going to spend time with, anything to do with your children's lifestyle, you must attend mediation with a registered FDRP, which is Family Dispute Resolution Practitioner, and you must have a certificate, a particular kind of certificate to say that you've done that. If you can't resolve your, if you can't come to an agreement or a settlement about the children, and you want to apply to the court, you must include that certificate with your application. Renee was telling me yesterday when we were chatting that her situation, her case, was only to do with the finances and the joint property. And so in her situation, mediation is optional. It is not currently required. It is not currently mandatory to go to mediation before you file if you're only going to be arguing over stuff. So that's just a little bit of the technical behind the scenes stuff as of right now, or last time I looked at the legislation. And I might just talk a little bit too about why an FDRP is required. So a family dispute resolution practitioner goes through very similar training to the training that I did and all other nationally accredited mediators have done in Australia. And they do additional modules. And those additional modules are to do with analysing and assessing the family, and specifically looking out for signs of family violence. If there are signs of family violence, then mediation won't take place, and the FDRP will issue a certificate to say that it's not safe or reasonable to do so. Having said that, I did chat to a woman recently who, now let me see if I've got this right, I think it was her sister-in-law, so her husband's sister, had been going through a divorce and had wanted to go to mediation. And the FDRP found that there was a risk of family violence because the husband's behaviour met whatever that criteria is. And so gave a certificate to say, no, it's not suitable for mediation. It was really interesting to me that the family were very upset that they were not allowed to go to mediation. In fact, they were forced into the court system when in fact they wanted to try mediation. So that's another interesting facet. But obviously the safety of everyone, including the children and the extended family, is the number one concern. So if you are wondering what the difference is between a family dispute resolution practitioner and every other kind of dispute resolution practitioner, that essentially is it. So because I don't specialise or work exclusively in family law, I don't have that additional qualification at this stage. Watch this space. I might do it in the future. But what I do is I have a network of other mediators that I work with. And so if there was a couple who wanted to come and see me and say they had both children's orders and property orders to deal with, I bring in someone who is a registered family dispute resolution practitioner, and we co-mediate, which means that you get two of us acting as one unit. So two heads are better than one. It means that she can issue the certificate. It means that we bring our unique perspectives and experiences with life, law and mediation. And it means that we maintain everyone's safety. So that's just a little bit about sort of the technical stuff and the legal stuff. And then, Renee, you mentioned that you went to a conciliation hearing, which I understand is conducted by a judicial registrar or a judicial member of the court. Would you like to tell us a bit about what that was like as an experience?
Yeah, the whole thing was nerve-wracking. Like, when I got the papers that this was happening, I was in a fair bit of shock and quite upset. And then when the day came around, I think I just went in there with the intention to get it over and done with really quickly. Because you go up into the family court building and then you just go off into a little room, and it was, I'm in the room with my ex-husband, someone who I used to love looking at, going, I just don't even know you right now. And so the kind of, I guess the good thing was that I had a girlfriend there, and she waited outside the room. So the room's just like sitting around a big dining table, and it's you, your lawyer, or both of you and your lawyer, and the magistrate or whoever she is. And so we just start, or the lawyers start doing the talking really, and then you just get down to the nitty gritty. I mean, yeah, as I said, we had a house to fight over. It's not like it was worth, $1 million either. So it wasn't, they tried to go through me, through everything, through my businesses, through my super, and I was like, oh, that's my dog.
Who is that?
Remy, shh, that's my dog. I put the phone on silent, so no text messages, but the dog, well,
Oh, yeah, no. I want my 5 seconds.
The thing for me is, I don't know if I actually went in there with the right attitude of just getting it over and done with. Mm-hmm. I think I should have maybe just fought harder, because I just was like, yeah, throw the super in, take that out for him. Like, it was just crazy, because I'm the one looking after the kids, but they still wanted to screw me over for every last penny. So, well, I mean, look, it wasn't pretty as far as the experience, but I think you need to go in there with and now my delivery man's about to rock up, knowing what you're worth, and knowing a bit more of, and just maybe fighting, not fighting to be nasty, because I'm not about that, but fighting for what's yours and standing up to these people, because it's pretty freaking daunting, right? And I should have said, no way is my super, if his super isn't getting thrown in the pool, then neither's mine. Like, I just should have stood up that, for myself a bit more. But yeah, so, I mean, it was in and out rather, look, I don't even think we were in there maybe more than an hour, I guess.
Good heavens, that sounds really, really fun.
We didn't have anything to fight over. Like, it was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go. I might have to go to the door in a sec. So
yeah, all right. Well, when your delivery person arrives, I will tell the viewers a little bit about the difference between what is conciliation and what is mediation. But I'm curious to know, did you have a private session with the magistrate or the judicial registrar who was running it, or were you together the whole time?
No, we did have some private time. Yeah. And basically they left the room, we stayed, and she sort of went between the two. It sort of came down to that when we were doing the nitty gritty of it all.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my door.
All right. Well, you go and collect your delivery.
Oh, what is that?
Well, we're waiting for Renee to come back. So what Renee has just described is what we in the business refer to as shuttle mediation. And if you have seen the other what to expect at Family Law Mediation webinar from 2 weeks ago, you will have seen there's a slide in there about to shuttle or not to shuttle. It really depends on the personalities involved, and it really does depend on how I wonder if I can mute her while she's not here. It really does depend on how, mute. It really does depend, sorry about that, how very professional. It depends on how the day is going and how the mood is. I prefer, if possible, to have the parties speak to each other. I prefer, if possible, to have you make the offer and counter offer to your ex. But I appreciate that that's not always easy and it's not always feasible. In my experience, when there are lawyers involved, it quite quickly deteriorates. I won't use the word deteriorate. It quite quickly moves into a shuttle negotiation phase where you speak to your lawyer and either the lawyer goes and tells the other lawyer what your position is, what your offer is, or you tell it to the person who has convened the meeting, so the facilitator, the mediator, or the judicial officer. You tell them the offer and they convey it to the other party. So one of the differences between mediation and conciliation is that when you are appearing in conciliation before a judicial officer, that person has the ability to make some orders, and in fact they can make them on the spot, which can be beneficial. As a mediator, I can't make court orders, and anything that you agree to during mediation is binding as a contract, but not binding in the same way as a court order is. So if it's breached, you have to go back to court and commence action for enforcement of that contractual arrangement or agreement. This is particularly relevant in the family law jurisdiction because if someone breaches a family law order, you can go back to court and seek an enforcement order. And if they do not comply with it, they can in fact be arrested, and they can in fact have criminal consequences. So I can understand why in the family law jurisdiction, particularly if you've got someone who has a history of not complying with the agreements that they've made, that you would want that additional level of authority involved. So how it works, as I understand it, is that if you come to an agreement on the day, then the judicial member, and when I say that, that might be a magistrate or it might be a judicial registrar, they actually can make orders which get entered into the court file and have the same standing and weight as if you had had a hearing in front of a magistrate or another judge. If you go to mediation and come to an agreement, you can apply to the court to have those agreements made into consent orders. So they can be made into orders, or if there's no application on foot, that is to say, and I always slip into legal talk, I do apologise, but if no one has filed any documents with the court to start things off yet, then you don't have to file court orders. You can have an agreement between the two of you, and as long as everybody sticks to it, then there's no need for the court to get involved. So just to be clear, there are 3 types of applications and orders that you can seek in the family law jurisdiction. And I call it the family law jurisdiction because it could be the family court or it could be the federal magistrates court hearing family law matters. The first one is the divorce. Now that is the declaration that the marriage is over in law. That often is uncontested and often happens in a fairly procedural way. You put in your application, you comply, you give all the evidence that you need to, you pay the fees that you need to, and once a certain period of time has elapsed and no one objects, then the declaration is made and the orders are made. The other 2 are the types that we've been talking about tonight: the application for children's orders, sometimes called parenting orders, previously called contact orders. This is one of the areas where the language seems to change. I think that when I was the subject of an order, when my parents were divorcing, I think it was custody orders, and I was living with one and having contact with the other, I think. Then it became living with and spending time with, and they seem to change the language every few years. It's very much child-focused now, and as Renee was saying, as long as you're acting in the best interest of your children, that's probably going to be the best guiding light for you. And then that leaves the stuff, the property, the money. And this is where people often feel that things are a bit unjust, because as Renee was saying, your superannuation goes into the pool. I have one fellow I'm working with at the moment. He inherited money when his father died. That goes into the pool. Anything that you bring to the marriage or to the relationship during the relationship. So you either bring it with you at the start of the relationship, or you add it to the joint finances during the relationship, or even if it's a windfall that you receive after the end of the relationship and before the court orders are made, that can, in some circumstances, also be drawn into that pool of assets to be divided. And that's the type of case where I was saying you don't necessarily have to go to mediation. You can go straight through to the court processes. So, Renee, I'm going to take you off mute again so that we can hear you and see your lovely smiling face. At least I think I'm going to unmute you. How do I do this? No, hang on.
I've done it.
Ah, there you are. Hooray. Oh, wait, no. Scintillating viewing. You might have to do it at your end.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, you're back.
I'm back.
Hooray. So I did in one of my promos, my teasers for tonight's show, mention I think that your next project as the divorce go-to girl might involve swimsuits and cocktails. Have you got a trip planned? Is there something coming up?
Oh, yeah. So, there's a lot planned, actually. So there will be a divorce holiday to Las Vegas in May. So
Wow.
while it's still nice and warm over there, and we can get some poolside service and be treated like queens. So yeah, that's coming up in May. So I'm taking expressions of interest for that now.
Wow. What happens on a divorce holiday?
Ooh, it's Vegas. What happens in Vegas? In Vegas. I know, it's corny, right? But I had to say it. So why I chose Vegas was, I think, like, so I did I took myself off to a retreat and had some, me time. I did meditation, mindfulness, all the woo-woo stuff, as I call it. And then I sort of came back and I was like, right. And like when my marriage ended, I was suffering major anxiety. So I was not in a good way as such, but it's amazing what happens when you lift the load off that you're carrying, so to speak. So yeah, I felt like I had to go on another holiday, and because my background is a travel agent for the last sort of 18 years, I was like, where else in the world can I go where I can dress up, have fun, be waited on, be pampered, shopping and party? Where could I go? And I was just like, oh my God, there's like one place. It's Vegas. So yeah, so I actually took myself off there. I had 5 nights there on my own.
Wow. Was that the first time that you'd holidayed alone?
No, I'd sort of backpacked around Europe a little bit on my own, but God, it had been a long time since I'd holidayed on my own, for sure. But I don't know. I think I just knew I had to do it. And I think often when you travel alone, you actually put yourself out a bit more. So I ended up meeting some girls on the sort of second day because I booked a day tour. And, when people hear your Aussie accent, everyone loves you, and they want to chat to you and they can't believe you're here on your own and they think you've flown like just halfway around the world to get there. So they think it's pretty crazy. So what did I do? I laid by the pool. I shopped. I went out to nightclubs. I went and did zip lining. Went to the Grand Canyon. There's just so much you can do over there. But I'm going to make it pretty special because I've got lots of local contacts. So it's going to be a pretty epic week. And there'll be a bit of, a bit of like, I don't know, like personal development thrown in. But, I'll spend some time with the girls making sure that, they've got their head in the right space, that the mindset is right for them to move on, because no one wants to go around and, make the same, and I hate saying make the same mistake, because I never think a marriage is a mistake anyway, but you want to find make the next marriage or your next partnership or whatever, this amazing relationship. So yeah, so it's going to be, yeah, there's nothing else out there like it. So I'm really excited.
It sounds fantastic. It sounds like really good fun. And I think to all of us, particularly I think as women, we do tend to take on that carer role. We do tend to put ourselves last, I think, often. So it's a really important thing to do, I think, particularly when you are at that vulnerable stage in life.
Absolutely. And like, you know, when you're a mother too, you often don't, you come like third or fourth sometimes. So, and I'm so against that. So I think we need to, especially when you go through a divorce, you have got to put yourself first. And it's not about being selfish. It's about what I call being self-full. So when you take care of you first and you look after you, you then have extra love, extra time, extra energy to give to your children, to give to your friends, to give to whoever you need to give to, because you're taking care of yourself. You've either had, and it takes time to figure out like what's important to you, because it's not that, sometimes it's not that crystal clear how you want to spend me time. But when you're divorced, it's a great time to figure out who you are again and what do you like, what do you want to do, and make all that happen. So these trips will be a lot about that, and a lot about, you know, embracing your femininity again and feeling beautiful on the inside and the outside, so that you can, what I say, create this whole what's next chapter in life with a whole, you know, better version of you.
Sounds fantastic. Yeah. And I love that what next. I love that
the what's next chapter.
What next chapter? Yeah, that's really lovely. And it's not just
sorry, I was gonna say, it's not about going to Vegas and getting drunk every night. Like it's just, I mean, you can do that in your own house, right? So it's just that, I mean, I'm sure we would 1 or 2 nights, but do you know what I mean? Like it's
not a lost weekend. It's
definitely not. No.
Investing in yourself, which is something that you and I as business women running our own businesses, entrepreneurs, we hear a lot about that. When you mix in entrepreneur circles, you hear all the time about investing in yourself and caring for yourself. But if you're not moving in those circles, certainly when I was working full-time as a lawyer, they weren't the kind of phrases that I heard. And in fact, if anything, it was sort of seen as, you know, professional development was an obligation that you had to do. No one really wanted to do it. So even just changing your mindset around that, I think, is a really valuable step to take.
Well, 100%. I so agree with everything you just said. I mean, the whole world's changed, right? And if we keep doing the same thing we've always done, you're going to get the same results, funnily enough. And I mean, I just don't believe in doing the status quo most of the time anyway. So you need to have a fresh approach to certain things. Otherwise, life gets pretty boring. But a lot of people still think putting yourself first becomes being selfish, and that's just such an old and limiting way of thinking. And trust me, like I learned that the hard way. That's why I was suffering anxiety and depression at the end of my marriage, because I hadn't put me first for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and I imagine a lot of women feel that way.
Not just made up BS. It's just the truth that you know, we get so conditioned to thinking a certain way and behaving a certain way, and it's like 2015 last time I checked, not the 1920s. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, so this trip, it's not just for mums, is it? Any newly single women can join you?
It's just for women. I'm doing a mixed guys and girls trip to Cuba probably in July, I think, at this stage.
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah, and then later in the year there'll be one for single parents and their kids. But yeah, it's just for girls. It's girls to bond, and it's I think a lot of people, someone said the other day, oh my God, a group of divorced women nattering about their ex-partners. I went, oh no, it's not about that at all, because and the funny thing is, when she said that, I went, what, you're married and you don't sit around and basically chatter about your husband. Everyone's like, come on, like you chatter, but yeah. So it's not like a let's bash our ex-husband, like, you know, like talk about all that behind it's not even remotely about that. God, what a waste of time that is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It sounds like the last thing you'd want to do, you know, is to give all that time and energy to the ex.
Oh my God, no. It's again all about learning how to. Why would you bother? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
But it's time to put, you know, just you first, and it's a great way to spend your settlement money. Trust me. So, but you know, we forget that when you invest in yourself, that's the best investment there is. And surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are just on a mission to basically, you know, get back on their feet as such and find their confidence again and like not feel like they're alone. And women, I don't know, but I reckon women, we like helping each other. So
absolutely. Yeah. Hey, so I wanted to ask you, if someone else had been running a program like this, you said that you went on a retreat after your divorce. If you'd have done a program like the boot camp or the retreat before you went to that conciliation, do you think that you would have gone in with a different attitude and perhaps come out with a different outcome?
I think so what it comes down to is awareness. And I think if I'd had some more knowledge, like the knowledge I have now and what I try to give to people, it's just the knowledge of what it's actually going to be like and really understanding. I think if I don't know if the traveling not so much wouldn't have made a difference for me. It was more just having the knowledge, because I guess what do they say, knowledge is power. And if you've got someone on your side, on your team, who is neutral to you. So what I mean by that is not your mum, not your best friend, because they're emotionally invested in you and your best interest, which is exactly how they should be, right?
Yeah.
But someone hasn't gone through it. It's giving you the information and telling you you'll be all right. Sometimes you get sick of hearing you'll be all right or things will always work out. So I think for me it was, if I just and I did have someone on my side, on my team a little bit, but for me, what would have made a massive difference is actually not being in a relationship at the time with somebody else. But again, that's another lesson. And the main thing for everybody is just stay true to yourself. And just know what you're worth as such, and go into the conciliation or even come and see you with just, again, the right mindset, the right frame of mind, that it's and the reason why I say treat it like a business is because that's what the judges do, right? That's what the lawyers do. They don't care about who cheated on who, if that's the case, right? Because that's often when people want to get back at each other.
Yep.
But they don't care. And it's not their job to care, right? They're running a business. And so the thing is to understand that it's not about making friends with your lawyer either. They're there to do a job. You need to listen to them and obviously yourself, but and just having some that knowledge of what it's actually going to be like is just, that's gold.
Yeah.
And
that actually segues beautifully, and I didn't even ask you to do it, but that segues beautifully into another aspect of the services that I offer to people who find themselves in that situation of newly separated, newly single, and beginning to navigate the process. If you've chosen to go to conciliation, or if you've chosen to go to a mediation through, say, Relationships Australia or one of the other bodies out there that do the family mediation with government subsidies and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I'm not going to be your mediator. What that means is it actually frees me up to be that friend, to be that person on your side, and to be there as your support person. So I offer a range of what I call mediation coaching and mediation support. So we spend some time together before the mediation, at least a week, because the neuroscience says that it takes about that long to build new synaptic pathways in your brain. So if you want to think new thoughts, you've got to have at least a week for them to settle in. And then on the day I can come with you and I can be that support person, and I can take notes, and I can make sure that that you're following everything and understanding everything. I don't know about you, Renee, but often if I'm stressed or upset, I don't always hear everything or remember everything that's being said. So it's really great to have someone else there to take notes and to remember for you.
Definitely, like, especially being females, you know. I mean, that's just how we're wired, and it's so fine. But, you know, we run on emotion, and emotions and tired, and like, that's another thing. Don't make any decisions either. Don't feel pressured. If you're tired and emotional, cut conversations, and stop it, because there's no rush in a way. Like, if that makes sense, you don't need to decide everything. When your ex-partner says, I want this, I want you to do this, make it on your terms when you feel that you've had enough rest and you have a clear mind to make these decisions. Not when your kids are running around having a tantrum, but after a few wines either. You know, not when you're tired. So just really, making those clear decisions. And it all comes around quick enough as it is anyway. Like the whole year and the day goes so quickly that once you're in that process, you just want to sort of slow down those decision makings. Don't make a rash decision.
Yeah.
Having like on your side is someone there who's a bit more gentle. Makes a world of difference.
You just reminded me of a story that my mum told me. She actually only just told me this in the last couple of weeks. Now, I should point out that they were divorced in the mid to late 1980s, and there was a bit of back and forth around custody. And anyway, I can't remember what brought it up, but she was telling me the other day that she remembers sitting in the corridor of the old family court, as it was then, because Melbourne was the closest city. We lived in the country when they were splitting up. And she said she can remember sitting in these daggy chairs next to my dad, waiting for their turn to go in front of the judge. And there was this other woman with a fairly small baby, and I think the grandmother, the woman's mother, was on hand, and they were trying to change the baby on the floor in the waiting corridor outside the court. And she said to me, I just had this surreal moment of, how did I end up here? What is going on? So, I can't imagine trying to negotiate this stuff and make good decisions if you're trying to change the baby's nappy and feed the other one and not let them choke on the crowns.
Yeah, it's crazy. You'll pinch yourself many a time like that, going, I can't believe I'm going through this. It is kind of a surreal thing. And I even look back now and go, wow, when did that happen, kind of thing. So as much as those days can be surreal, it does pass by pretty quickly. So some days will be really shitty and challenging, and that's just life, though, no matter what. So it does get better.
Some days are shitty no matter who you are and what you're doing. I reckon even your Richard Bransons and Oprah Winfrey's have shitty days.
Everyone does, right? Like, the world's it's there to challenge us. If life was just easy and, you know, smooth sailing, I think we'd all be bored stiff. So
absolutely. For our viewers, if you click on the showcase, which is in your on the left-hand side of your toolbar on your screen, you'll see that I've shared there a link to Renee's page, and it says Beyond the Breakup Bootcamp. If you click that, you'll go through to Renee's website. You can sign up for the bootcamp. How do people express an interest in the trips that you were talking about, the Vegas trip or perhaps the South American trip?
They can, at the moment, they can just reach out on Facebook and send me a personal message, or you can email me, which is just renee@divorcegotogirl.com. There's a link even to contact me off the website. So, yeah, definitely reach out if you're interested. Yeah, it's gonna be epic.
Fantastic. Which reminds me, I need to renew my passport. Not that I'm going to be coming with you to Vegas, but yeah, unless you need a,
I don't want you to come
to escort you.
I know it's a business that you go, I wish no one needed me, but unfortunately
they do. But sometimes when I go out with some of my single girlfriends and we go out night clubbing until 4 in the morning, I say, oh, it's all right because I'm the matron chaperone. You know, I'm the old married woman. I'm here to look after you, so it's all fine.
Oh, well, maybe you can do that over there with us.
Yeah, maybe I'll be the matronly chaperone for the girls in Vegas. That sounds like a hoot. And for those of you who are in the process of divorcing, separating, having to sort out some orders with your ex about children or about your property, do get in touch with me. You can pop by my website. The links will be around somewhere. It's rcvmediationservices.com.au, and from there you can follow links to find out some more information about my various services, or book in for a 3.5-hour consultation to chat about mediation and whether it's right for you. Also, I have a special offer because you've joined us tonight for our chat. So for couples mediation, normally my rate is $385 an hour, and that's inclusive GST. But if you tell me that you've been watching this webinar, I will bring it down to $299 including GST. That's only a Ready2Mediate special. So I hope to see you around the web. Do spend some time hanging out on Renee's page and look her up on Facebook. It's a great resource, and it's great just to have those inspirational messages from Renee popping up in my news feed, even though I'm not necessarily looking to divorce at this point in my life. But it's really lovely to see a strong, passionate woman reminding me and other women to be strong and passionate. Renee, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me and for watching, everyone. And yeah, I'm chilled after my whole day of meditating. So enjoy the rest of your evening.
Namaste. All right, we're going to sign off. You can watch us again on the YouTube, and stay tuned to follow both our pages for future interviews, collaborations, and resources. This has been Bex from RCV Mediation Services.